Hello and welcome. So we begin in Kazakhstan, where at least 164 people have died during violent anti-government protests. That's according to media reports citing health officials. If confirmed, it would mark a sharp rise from the previous figure of 44 deaths. Almost 6,000 people have been arrested, including a substantial number of foreign nationals, Kazakhstan's presidential office said on Sunday. The demonstrations, triggered by a rise in fuel prices, turned into huge riots as they spread across the country. Well, Kazakhstan has some of the largest oil reserves in the world. It produces 1.6 million barrels of oil a day and has attracted billions of dollars in foreign investment. However, the wealth hasn't trickled down to the population, who have an average income of less than $3,400 a year. Well, joining me now is Philip Worman, Managing Director of GPW Group, a political risk consulting firm. Philip, welcome to you. Thanks very much for being with us. Tell us a bit more about what sparked this unrest, because it's not just about fuel prices, is it?
No, I mean, the raw material for the unrest, if you like, the fuel that was sparked, was essentially years of, as you say, a failure of this colossal wealth that Kazakhstan has built up to trickle down to the most poorly paid workers. Couple that with recent economic declines and a sudden doubling of basic foodstuffs and fuel prices, and you've got a very volatile environment. Now, what sparked that off is open to debate. So there's a possibility that opposition activists and elite groups actually encourage the violence. But the basic, the cocktail of social decline and economic problems was there at the start.
And what sort of economic impact is this having at the moment and potentially going forwards?
Well, I guess there are three points to consider. In terms of Kazakh's output, in terms of raw materials, it's one of the world's biggest uranium producers. We've already seen that feeding through to the uranium price, which has jumped up around 8% last week. Kazakhstan supplies about half of the world's uranium. In terms of oil production, I mean, it's not a huge producer. It's about a tenth of Russia's production. But already on the back of this violence and unrest, we've seen oil prices tick up by about 5%. Coupled with that, we're seeing, companies that we speak to in Kazakhstan are seeing workers unable to travel to some of the oil production sites. And already you've seen one of the biggest producers there, Chevron, talking about supply disruptions. So I think that the feed-through effects of the unrest are still happening. There is a third sort of more subtle point, which is that I think the unrest and the violence is going to lead to a sort of ripple effect in the former Soviet region of sort of risk off for investors. So it's going to create a much higher level of risk aversion for investors that are looking to invest in, say, Russia or Kazakhstan or Ukraine. And
what about Bitcoin? Because it's a big miner of Bitcoin, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to know. I mean, it's a bit of a sideshow, but Kazakhstan was a big destination for Bitcoin mining. I mean, clearly that's going to scare a lot of people off, but this is already a highly volatile and speculative asset anyway. So I think that's a bit of a sideshow compared to the effect that it'll have on, say, uranium or oil prices.
OK, Philip.